Good evening, everyone. It's 6 p.m. and the July 1st City Council meeting will come to order. Now it's time for the invocation. Let us pray. Almighty God, we gather here today to conduct the business of our beloved city, Bel Air Beach. As we approach the celebration of July the 4th, we are reminded of the blessings of freedom and independence that we enjoy in this great nation. We thank you for the liberty that allows us to come together in this democratic process. Please bless our city staff, council members, board and committee members, and all those in attendance with wisdom, patience, and respect as we seek to serve our community with integrity and dedication. Grant us the clarity to see the needs of our residents, the courage to make decisions that promote the common good, and the strength to carry out our duties with humility and fairness. May our actions reflect the values of compassion, justice, and unity. We also remember those who serve and protect our city and our country, and we ask for your protection over them and their families. Let us be ever mindful of the responsibilities we bear and the impact of our decisions on the lives of our fellow citizens. In your holy name we pray, amen. Now please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Renee, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Frank Bankert.
Present.
Councilmember Lloyd Roberts. Councilmember Kim Shaw Elliott.
Present.
Mayor Dave Gaddis.
Here.
City Manager Kyle Riefler.
Here.
And City Attorney Jay Daigneault.
Here. And was that an official answer from Councilmember Roberts? I couldn't tell.
I did not have an answer from Councilmember Roberts.
All right, we'll continue moving forward, and if we can get him back online, then we'll continue. Oh,
Okay.
he's back.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Can you guys hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes,
Okay, are we good?
we are good.
All right. Our first order of business is approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve? Motion. Motion is made by Frank Bankert. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Shaw Elliott. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, the agenda is approved. Now we move to citizen comments. Any citizen would like to address the council about a topic not already on the agenda, please raise your hand and wait to be called on. We ask that you limit your time to no more than 3 minutes, and remember to direct all questions and comments to the council. If any council members would like to respond, you know the drill. And if the city manager or city attorney would like to address citizen comments, please hold your responses until your designated report time. Would any citizen like to address the council about a topic not already on the agenda? Seeing as we have none, citizen comments are now closed. All right, now we are on to item 3. We have a presentation from the Pinellas County Sheriff's Office beginning with the monthly law enforcement report. Welcome, sir. Please come up and give us your name and title, and let's have the report.
Good evening, I'm Corporal Mark Reeves with the Sheriff's Office. This is the May 2024 report. We only had one incident of
Sir,
larceny.
let me interrupt you for 1 second. Councilmember Roberts, could you mute until you'd like to speak? Okay, I think we're good. Go ahead.
We only had one larceny and one assault in the city during the month of May. There were 9 total people arrested in the city of Bel Air Beach during the month of May. There was a possession of a controlled substance charge, along with a couple of traffic misdemeanors and a warrant charge. There were 673 events during the month of May, with 768 responding units. The top events in the city were house checks, directed patrols, vehicle and abandoned parked illegally, traffic stops, and city ordinance violations. There were no crashes in the city during the month of May, and we issued 104 parking, 81 traffic tickets, and 26 warnings during the month, resulting in 213 citations. The correlation, as usual, a lot of them occurred on Gulf Boulevard. And that's all the data I have for May for you.
Thank you, Corporal. Council, would anyone like to ask Corporal a question? Yes?
Yes, Corporal, we're going through our budget right now, and we've got a sizable increase with the sheriff's budget. I'm trying to figure out, because we get a stipend back from Bel Air Shores, and it looks like I guess they allocate about 1.2 hours a day for sheriff duties.
Okay.
I can't see how that is not more than like 2.5 hours or 3 hours a day. Would you have any idea of how much time?
That I can't speak to. I will pass your concern on to Captain Liner, and I'll have him reach out to the city.
I really appreciate that. Thank you.
No problem.
Any other questions or comments for the Corporal? Councilmember Roberts, do you have any questions or comments? Okay, I'm going to take that as no. Thank you, Corporal. I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
Now we're on to the monthly code enforcement report. Deputy Trump here. Yes, he is. Hello, Deputy. How you doing?
Good evening. I'm Deputy Trump with Pinellas County Sheriff's Office, and I assist in helping with your code enforcement for the city. This month, for the month of June, we had 42 entries. With that, I had various different calls. We did 7 unpermitted remodels, 7 other enforcements, which include anywhere from garbage, not in cans, things like that, all the way up to directed patrol. So it's kind of an open type of category. I conducted 4 beach patrols, 5 construction nuisances. We are dealing, obviously, with the hot weather, the rain, and everything else. We're dealing with a lot more plant overgrowth complaints, high grass complaints, things like that. So we're trying to address those and talk to the residents about some of their plants kind of overgrowing, fences, things like that. And then we had a couple of calls referenced just clutter in the yard, things being stored in driveways that aren't supposed to be there, and then 1 boat and trailer complaint that we took care of. So it was a pretty easy month, but we were pretty busy also. Any questions?
Thank you, Deputy. Any questions or comments for Deputy Trump?
None for me, thank you.
Thank you.
1 second. Mr. Roberts, do you have any questions or comments?
I do not.
All right. Thank you so much, Deputy.
Take care.
Appreciate you being here.
Yes.
Next up, we have a presentation from the Pinellas Suncoast Fire and Rescue District, but I do not see it. Oh, there we go. How you doing, sir?
I'm good. How you doing?
Good.
My name's Chief Stumberg. I'm here today. Chief Davidson had an emergency special meeting with Indian Shores for the district, and he obviously apologized he couldn't make it, but he sent me instead. So hopefully that's a good substitute. But for the month of June, there were 18 calls into Bel Air Beach during the month. That included like a fuel spill, gas leaks, water rescue, a diving incident, motor vehicle accidents, heat exposures, and some other medical calls. Just an update, the district has purchased property to better serve Bel Air Beach. The new fire station is going to be anticipated to be built within the next 20 months. The location is at the northern end of Indian Rocks, which allows for a 2-minute response time into Bel Air Beach. We are currently working with the county to provide staffing so we can put a unit in the area prior to the station being built to get that moving along a little faster and get a better response. Our goal is to provide the highest level of care to our citizens, obviously. And with that, if there's any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer what I can.
Any questions for the chief? No? Mr. Roberts, do you have any questions?
No, sir.
All right, if you don't mind, would you please mute?
Good?
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
And And tell Chief Davison he's in trouble again.
All right, well, it stays there.
All right, next we have an update, item number 5, an update on the Causeway and Gulf Boulevard intersection for Pinellas County Public Works. Hello, sir. Please come up and announce yourself and your
Good evening.
title.
Good evening, my name is Tom Washburn, I'm the Division Director for Transportation of Public Works of Pinellas County. I've got our County Traffic Engineer here tonight as well, Jeff Thompson, and our Timing Technician, Nick Papadopoulos. We've got a presentation, and we'll all be taking part in it. I want to give you guys just a little bit of brief history on what we've done out at the intersection.
I'm going to hold you for 1 second. Can you speak a little closer to the microphone?
Sure, I'm sorry, is that better?
Is the volume turned down?
I'm sorry, is that better?
Much better. I wonder I couldn't hear anyone.
I'm sorry about that. Let me start over. My name is Tom Washburn. I'm with Pinellas County Public Works. I'm the Transportation Division Director. I've got our County Traffic Engineer with me here today, Jeff Thompson, and I've got our Timing Technician, Nick Papadopoulos. We've got a presentation on what we've been doing at the intersection here recently, but I want to give a little bit of history before we come up and show you the modeling that we've done. Going back to 2014, we had a pedestrian study that we did along the entire stretch of Gulf Boulevard, including City of Clearwater, Indian Rocks Beach, and Bel Air Beach. The results of that study is what resulted in the pedestrian crossings that we have out there, including the one that's just north of the intersection. So that dates back about 10 years. 2016, 2017, with Hurricane Irma, the intersection was damaged pretty heavily. It used to be a span wire. So we've since upgraded that to mast arms. It's given us the ability to apply more technology at the intersection, which we'll show you here as well. In 2020, we were contacted by the city to consider a study at the intersection, looking at complaints that you guys are receiving or relaying to us about delays at the intersection, primarily southbound and westbound traffic. So we hired a consultant, did a study, which resulted in the configuration of the intersection that you see today. Primarily the change was changing that southbound left turn from the single lane to the 2 lanes and making some other adjustments. And that's how it's been operating since about 2021. In 2023, February 2023, we were contacted by Councilmember Roberts, asked to take another look at the intersection. So we've been doing that since then. In April of this year, we had Councilmember Roberts and the city manager out to our facility, showed them the modeling that we're going to show you today, showed them the detection devices that we've got at the intersection and what type of data that's providing to us, and then came up with some recommendations that we've been going back and forth with the city with. So that's kind of where we are today. And with that, I'm going to ask Nick to come up and kind of go through the detection that we have at the intersection, the data that it's pulling, and then the modeling that we've done to get to where we are today. All right?
All right, thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Nick Papadopoulos. I'm a traffic signal timing technician. I've been working in the county for 9 years now, so eventually I moved up to being the timing tech for the county. And what we do daily as a team is we monitor intersections, we keep an eye on traffic, we try to make intersections more efficient, we try to identify problems, either pedestrian problems or vehicles or illegal crossings, whatever is related to an intersection that can make it work safer. So my presentation is a little bit different today. I'm not going to show you a PowerPoint. We're just going to see some live data and also software regarding some new AI technology we installed at the intersection right down the road here at Gulf Boulevard and Brother Causeway. So give me a second, let me share the screen. All right, well. So when the request came to our group to monitor the intersection, it was a good chance to implement one of these new devices which not only does vehicle detection, it also does analysis. So it counts pedestrians, it counts vehicles, it tells you things that you cannot see every day or constantly monitoring an intersection. So the system is called Kirk's Vision. Hopefully you can see it on my screen here. And we do get a live view of what's going on in the intersection right now. It shows us the vehicles, what's out there. And if we click on the camera, we get a live feed. And it shows us exactly how many vehicles are there. It classifies them by category, if it's a light truck, a heavy truck, a passenger vehicle, a motorcycle, bicycles, everything. They're pretty powerful devices now. And having the ability to gather all this information makes it easier for us to analyze all the data and figure out what's going on. So right now you can see a live feed of the intersection, the southbound approach, the westbound, and then on the bottom is the northbound. And every time a vehicle rolls by, we do get a count and a unique number. And that goes into the software, and then we can run an analysis and a report to see how many vehicles. So let's say, for instance, for today, we're going to do a 1 hour increment and see how many vehicles are moving through this intersection every day. And you can see graphs here. It tells you how many vehicles are southbound, how many use the through lane, how many use the left lane. And for this intersection, we're mostly concerned about right now for the southbound left turn and the southbound through. So looking at the data, any day you look at all the data, there's more than double vehicles trying to make a southbound left turn than vehicles trying to make a through movement. So right now, today, we had 1,500 vehicles so far going through southbound, but then you had 3,300 vehicles going southbound left turn, which is more than double. And the reason we need all this information is we want to analyze what will happen if we reduce the capacity from a 2-lane southbound left turn to a 1-lane, how bad the traffic will back up. And to do that, we take the report from this software, and then we enter all this, the numbers into another software which does modeling. So this is the most popular and the most powerful software that all the engineering firms use. It's called Synchro Studio. So right now, I'm going to show you the scenario of what is existing at the intersection. So right now we have a double left turn lane for southbound. And we spent hours monitoring the intersection. We do have the CCTV cameras. Let me show you real quick. Like, we can monitor from our office constantly. This is a live feed actually from another camera. And we can monitor what's going on. AM peak traffic, off-peak moments, PM peak traffic, weekends. We could turn it around and get an idea of what's going on. So we could compare the data that we get from the software, and we could actually get a real time image of what's going on. So, we like to be sure of what we propose. So once we take all that data, now we have all the counts, we can put it in the software. And usually we take the worst case scenario for every approach. So you're going to see some numbers here for southbound, 203 vehicles, for through 619 for a left turn, westbound. Westbound is also a pretty heavy movement. It's almost as busy as a southbound left turn, and most of the times a little bit more heavy. But anyway, once we put all the data into the software, now we go through the simulation. And it shows you what's going on. I will speed it up a little bit so you can see the traffic moving. It looks a little bit cartoon view, but that's how it works. So right now, we don't have any significant backups. We haven't seen anything dramatically. There's a couple of times that we experienced backups due to a special occasion. Maybe there's an accident, or a couple of months ago there was a sand sculpture event going on at Clearwater Beach, so we experienced a lot more traffic. But on an average day, we don't see right now with dual left turn lanes a lot of backing up vehicles into the blocking the southbound movement, like passing the median for the pedestrian crossing. And this left turn pocket right now, all the way back to the median where it separates the pedestrian crossing, can roughly fit around 12 vehicles. So 12 vehicles per lane, you could get around 24 without blocking the southbound traffic. They can still keep coming south if they want to continue through. Now, so far, even in this synchro video, you don't see any backup. Everybody is happy. There's a little bit of the problem, I think, is when they merge over here to the left, because they don't have a lot of room, and they have to start merging. So as soon as they make a left turn, there's a marking on the ground that tells them you have to merge. And it seems like the problem is heading east. As soon as they make that left turn, people try to cut in front of everybody, and there's a little bit of confusion. I have spent several hours at this intersection observing traffic, actually, in the cabinet, real time, and there are a little bit of confusion with drivers. Some are more aggressive, some blow the horn. But other than that, the backup for the southbound is not there. And feel free to ask any questions in the meantime if you have something, okay? I don't mind being disrupted.
Sure, Mr. Baker. I think and I live south of this intersection, but the people north of this intersection, I believe the biggest complaint is what you just said last, going eastbound. Now, I think you said you can hold 12 vehicles coming from the south into 2 lanes.
Correct. So yeah, this pocket here, we call it the pocket, but the left turn lanes from the stop bar all the way back to where the median starts, where the palm trees are for the crossing you could roughly get, because you have 12th Street also there blocking the traffic. There is a marking there that says do not block, so some vehicles block, some don't.
So how many vehicles can you hold going east before you have to reduce it to 1 lane? You know what I'm saying?
Over here,
You're
once they
holding
make a
12
left.
and 12, right? Are you holding 12 total vehicles, or are you holding 12 vehicles per lane coming from the north?
I think it would be a different situation because those cars are moving, whereas the ones that are held in the southbound lane are stacked up and they're still.
And that's what I'm saying, so when the light turns, they're all getting aggressive to go east.
Correct.
So you have, 24 cars or 12 cars? You have-
That's the worst case scenario. We haven't experienced 24 cars at once. Usually an average is 10 to 12.
Come down this weekend, you can experience it.
Okay.
Yeah, and
Sure.
from January 1st till at least Easter, I mean, I pity the residents that live north of the causeway. I mean, I'm starting to see it on my side, but I hate to say this, but I think they've adapted to knowing that they can't get out at certain hours of the day, and they just, there's one guy shaking his head, I think he had a scenario, it took him 3 hours to go to Home Depot one time.
Okay.
The danger, I think, that everyone is worried about is going east, and these guys are gunning the cars trying to get into that one lane.
Correct, I understand. That's why we ran a couple of scenarios here. We didn't only do one. So let me stop this one, and then we could run the second one, which is a single left turn.
I can assure you, I already know what's going to happen. If there's going to be more than 12 cars at any given time, and you're going
Correct.
to block, all the traffic.
So,
Until the
yes,
light
with one, with the existing configuration of the intersection, unfortunately, it will block the southbound through lane completely because it will back up into the through lane past the island, and that will cause drivers to be a little more upset.
Do you mind if I ask Mr. Roberts if he has a question for you?
Sure.
Since he's got an ongoing dialogue. Mr. Roberts, do you have any questions or comments? I can't see you, so.
Okay, I'm unmuted now, thank you. Well, I guess my first statement would be, I think everybody would be in agreement with the following statement, that if you have a single lane of traffic coming from the north to the south that wants to turn left on the causeway, that would be more safe than having two lanes turn to the left. So that's a given. That's the way it used to be. And I agree with everybody that when it was in that format, that there were times, I don't know how many times, but there were times when the traffic coming from Clearwater was pretty. And if cars wanted to turn left on the causeway, they would block the cars wanting to go south. So that's how it was before, and the decision was made to change that to two left-hand turn lanes to alleviate that problem. And by doing that, it's an unknown, but man, if it ever happens where two cars are turning left and the inside car bumps the outside car and that car jumps the curb, and the worst case scenario, there's somebody there, we don't even want to think about what happens. So that's why we're talking about this. I understand the queuing of the vehicles in the two lanes, and that has helped the southbound traffic to continue going south through that intersection. But if it's at the risk of safety of going through the intersection and turning to the left, I'll never be in favor of that. So, as most of you know, I have brought to the attention to the county, we've had conversations about it. I'd like to know if we were to remove that island and create just a single left-hand turn lane, the cars would queue in what's now known as that bi-directional lane. Clearly that would be more safe to the cars turning to the left, and it would also return the blinking left-hand turn light, which allows people to turn left if in fact there's no traffic coming from the south to the north, and they're either there turning to the right or going straight. So I think that removes some of those cars from the queue to begin with. So that's my biggest concern, is just the two cars turning left. I truly don't believe it's a safe situation, and I'm concerned if two cars bump there. I'm not worried about the cars because the speed's fairly slow. But if one car gets pushed, the outside lane gets pushed towards the curb, and somebody's there, that's going to be a problem.
Would you like to address Mr. Roberts' questions and comments?
Yes, sure. Thanks for the feedback, Ms. Rod. We did run a scenario for the island removed also. It was the next slide, so give me a second. Let me run this
Sure.
area for the island removed. This one, it does look better. But island removed is the third scenario run, which is gonna allow the southbound to move without blocking them, and so this is the third scenario we worked on, having the island removed. We can't tell for sure how far back we have to stretch it. We went all the way back to 15th Street for this simulation. But that was a little bit excessive. We could probably make it a little bit shorter. But just to see how it works, it looks like it's not blocking traffic. And again, the flashing yellow arrow is not always the best solution because it's kind of like a double-edged sword. What happens is,
Can you pause it right there?
sure.
Just the way it is, thank you. All right, continue, please.
The flashing yellow arrow has one disadvantage. If there's a lot of pedestrians, and usually weekends or early in the morning, there's a lot of pedestrian activity. When they push the button to cross the road, the flashing yellow arrow gets disabled. It's a safety feature that the FDOT requires. It's called Pet Protect. So every time there's a pedestrian crossing and they push the button, they don't get that flashing yellow arrow. They have to wait. It goes into what we call a restricted left turn. So most of the time you should be okay.
Are you talking about the pedestrian crosswalk at the island, or are you talking about?
No, not the island, the intersection.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, yes, at the intersection. So every time I can zoom in a little bit. So let's say right here, there's a pedestrian going north and south.
All right.
This flashing yellow arrow will be disabled. They will get the red arrow. They're not going to be able to move. So most of the times you're okay, but typically when there's a lot of pedestrian activity, usually it's early in the morning when everybody's trying to go to work, and that's when it gets disabled. So if you get like a couple of cycles of pedestrian activity, what will happen is this will start to back up also because they're not going to get that gap in the from the northbound traffic to clear. So typically you can clear another 4 or 5 vehicles. It depends on how heavy the northbound is or how much of a big of a gap you got. But that's one disadvantage of the flashing yellow arrow. Otherwise, if there's no traffic northbound, you could clear as many cars as you can within that time frame because every movement has a specific amount of time in seconds that they can utilize. Now, again, that can be adjusted if that third option is to be chosen. And also another disadvantage of the single lane southbound left turn with a long queue is now you need more time for vehicles to accelerate. So even though you're not blocking southbound traffic, you need a little more time to clear more vehicles because they're going to be 300 feet back at the intersection. By the time they make it to the stop bar, it's almost time to max out and move to the next movement.
So let me ask you a question. If you'll move down a little bit so we see higher, so you see more northern. So if you look at 12th and 13th, how do they get out during a high volume of traffic in this scenario? With no island, how are they going to get in the middle lane? How are they going to make a left? They're not going to.
Do not, oh, sorry about that. Right now, there is a do not block at the intersection of both of these.
Do you think for a minute that they'll follow that?
I understand, but we're keeping the same setup, so it's up to the drivers to obey the rules, just like speed limits. The signs are there, but nobody obeys them, but we're just trying to simulate it in the software.
I understand.
And we did notice there's like a parking lot over here, so like a public parking over here, right next to this zone here. I don't know how these people get in during traffic or out.
They wouldn't be able to either. There's no way they'd be able to turn into that public parking. What everyone would have to do is head north, find an empty spot and turn around, which would create more problems. I would like to make some suggestions if you've got time.
Sure.
Can we pull up the presentation, the PowerPoint that I made? I just want to point out some obvious things and then show you what I think may alleviate some of the problems without doing away with the second turn lane. Because what I can say is, since you've done the 2 lanes, even though we all have identified a possibility for danger, I can assure you, I have not seen backups like we've seen in the past. I've seen where we've had to wait and wait and wait for sometimes as much as 10 minutes to get out on Gulf Boulevard where it was backed up so bad, especially towards the end of the day during, say, spring break or a special event. You couldn't get out. You couldn't make a left turn because traffic was backed up so bad. So if you look, can you see on my screen up there?
It's also not
Okay, so this is what we have today, and we already know that there are definitely some issues, okay? Would you go to the next slide, please? Okay, so if you look at car number 1 in the right lane, or it's about to turn right, it's coming off Causeway Boulevard. Would you hover the arrow over the car number 1, because it's kind of hard to see. All right, see right there?
Yes, it's up.
All right. Currently, the stop line is so close to that intersection that you have your, I call them rolling stoppers, and they don't actually stop, they slow down, and then they look to the left and they try to make that turn. Mr. Roberts, would you mind muting for just a few seconds while I...
Sure, I'm sorry.
No worries. Okay, so you're rolling through that intersection, you're looking to the left, and then you're going to make the right. I've seen car after car after car roll over that point where number 2 is. There we go. Well, wrong one. What happened?
He's going to put it through Zoom. He didn't have it.
Oh, okay, all right. One second.
Okay. Should I stop sharing or should I over? Okay.
There we go. Okay. Mr. Roberts, can you see this? Nod your head, yes. You can. There we go. Okay. So the car with the number 1 on it is doing a rolling stop, and you can see the car is already has the wrong angle for that turn. I see it over and over and over where cars making a right because they're looking left, they don't have enough time to make a good decision as they're approaching in to make the right turn. So what happens is they drift over into the oncoming traffic, and then they have to make a quick course correction. Now, if you'll go to the next slide, please. So here's where we are today. If you look on the asphalt, you can literally see where cars have left rubber on the road, showing the directions that they're making, how they're turning. If you look at car number 3 and position number 4, this happens over and over and over. They're coming through that intersection and they cross, and you even showed it in your example. Your computer picked it up that they cross over that yellow line as they're approaching the intersection. And they're doing that so that they don't have to slow down and they feel like that they're able to stay on that inside lane. Now, if you look at number 5 with a car on it, that one is swinging way out because he's afraid that car number 3 is going to bash him. So he's swinging way out, but he's also following the dotted lines on the street. That's kind of the angle that we were blessed with whenever this was redone. If you look at where he's at right now, he's headed straight for that curve. These are, it was so easy for me to find this. All I did was went to Google Maps and grabbed this picture. But it was a great example showing exactly what's going on in our intersection. If you look also at the street, you can see there's also places where there's rubber, where the car on the bottom turns in. So everybody's doing this same thing. So obviously we've got some issues, and here's what I think may help. Would you please go to the next slide? Oh, and by the way, another problem before I go to my proposals is that cars they have to sometimes fend for themselves because it looks like they're going to collide. Because this car's angled wrong, that car's angled wrong, and they're wondering who's gonna do the wrong thing. So not only do you have to worry about getting in the appropriate lane, but you have to worry about your neighbor bashing your car. Next slide, please. Go ahead there. Let's see. Okay, so here's my proposal. That is to move the stop lines back. There's one on Gulf Boulevard. You move that one farther north, and you move the one on Causeway further east. And while you're at it, go ahead and move the crosswalks. I realize that it would cost some money, but I think that it would solve a lot of the problems that we're having right now. And the reason why is because if you look at the dotted white line that's been painted, it's supposed to guide those cars headed south and then turning on the Causeway. The radius is too steep. It's too hard of a turn to safely for both cars to do that together. So if you go to the next slide, you see this is where the radius is bigger. It's less of a dramatic turn simply by moving those lines farther away from the intersection. Now, this may create some other problems, such as I believe you would lose 2 cars in your left turn lanes. So instead of 24 cars being able to handle 24, you'd only be able to handle 22. But I believe what I'm hearing is that it's rare we have a full stack. Whenever the light turns red and we're busy, it's rare that we have 22 full cars filling up both turn lanes. Is that right?
It happens, but not very often. Yes.
Not very often. Okay.
We witnessed it just a few times.
Okay, but if you look at the turning radius that's painted there now compared to my caveman drawing that I did, my radius is far larger than the one that's painted on the street. I think that what that would do is that would help make the left turn much safer than what it is today, because you're not having to make such a dramatic left. Next slide, please. Also, by moving it back, your little, the guy who likes to do the rolling stop, he's not going to be as close to that intersection whenever he has to start thinking, am I going to get in trouble for running this traffic light? So he's going to have more time to keep looking left before he eases up to the intersection and makes that right turn, his rolling stop. Also, I believe that you're going to have less opportunity for crossing that yellow line as you're making the right. So that's just some observations I've made. Next slide, please. Also, because the crosswalks are now farther out of sight from your right turners, the no right turn signs that I see in Largo this would be a perfect home for them if we were able to move these lines back. So you have one on the northbound side preventing them from turning right whenever there's a pedestrian, and we have one on the westbound side preventing them from turning right whenever there's a pedestrian crossing there. Next slide, please. You already did this, thank you very much, I appreciate that. But also, can you explain to me what the reasoning is for 4 lights? Is it a law? Is it a requirement? What is the deal with the 2 round lights in the right lane?
Yes, that's easy. That's a federal requirement. You need to have two lights per approach. So it's like a safety issue. So if one, let's say red ball goes out, you still have another one to back up.
Okay,
So per lane, per approach, you need minimum 2 lights. That's everywhere.
okay, so I'm going to tell you what I've observed, is that it's confusing to someone headed southbound. And I've seen countless cars, and you can probably go and look in your database and you'll see it also, that you have people running the traffic light in the middle turn lane headed southbound because they think that it's okay to proceed forward. And so I don't know what the solution is. If it's a federal law, maybe we could slide those 2 closer together or something like that so that there's less confusion. Because the arrows are pretty straightforward, but unfortunately, it looks like one of those green lights, I think people are confusing and they don't know if they're allowed to go straight or if they're supposed to turn left or what they're supposed to do. And that was one that the city manager and I spoke to each other about. We knew that there would probably be an issue with that, but it just seems like maybe the spacing, the gap, maybe if we can get them a little closer.
They have to be, by law, they have to be a minimum 8 feet apart.
8 feet apart.
So we can double check to see if there is maybe a little wiggle room.
Okay.
But because I think there's also a street name sign on the arm itself, we might not have too much of a room to play.
Okay.
I can pull it up real quick, see if there's any wiggle room. But usually they have to be within the lane and certain degrees.
I understand.
Yeah, I think that one has what we call illuminated street name sign. So late at night it illuminates the street name of the road. So I can't tell if yeah, they're pretty close to each other. So I can't tell if it can go maybe a few inches or maybe a foot, but I can't see it being too much. Also, I forgot to show you, all that you mentioned, this software captured. If you go to the notifications, here's an example.
Maybe what is here?
Oh, it's not sharing? I guess they stopped me. Give me a second. What was it? Share. Okay. Can you see it now?
Yes.
All right, let me maximize. So the software captures all that you mentioned. Everybody's clipping that westbound left turn lane
Yep.
when they're making, and it's on and on every day. That's all we see in notification. Most of it's called wrong way driving. It also captures red light crossings, so people that are
There we go.
doing red light. There's a lot of instances. We have a lot of pedestrians that don't push the button to cross the road. It captures them as a pedestrian violation right here. So sometimes, you'll see, this is a motorcycle. But yeah, most of the wrong way detection that you mentioned is captured in this software. You'll see it all day. Anytime you look, it's always these westbound. And we did come up with a proposal for that. Mr. Jeff Thompson prepared the proposal to what we think could help the traffic. And let me pull it up on my computer. So one thing we noticed is the lines of the road are faded, and people are confused. The skip lines, what we call, so the skip lines have faded out and they can't keep the vehicles while they're making the left turn in track. So this is a similar scenario to what we just spoke about a few minutes ago. Maybe we could refresh these paintings, move the stop bar a little bit back. There is a merge marking on the ground here, very close to the intersection right now, which we think forces the drivers to start merging a lot quicker than they should. And we were thinking maybe delete this and keep the other one downstream, which is like 100 feet, not even east of there. And the stop bar, we mentioned that one, adding markings. Now, you did mention in the previous slideshow a no turn right when the pedestrian is there. That could help, but it could also cause backup because now you're holding that westbound left turn movement for the whole amount of time that they're allocated.
Actually, that would be to the right.
Yeah, the westbound right turn, sorry.
So the right turn, I mean, they would have to stop. Someone's crossing the street. Why would we not do that?
Correct, but right now, most of the intersections, vehicles have to yield to pedestrians. So once the pedestrian clears, they could proceed. So let's say you have another 10, 15 seconds remaining in that movement. You could clear maybe another 5, 6 vehicles. But when you restrict the left turn when the pedestrian is there, now you don't clear anybody. Everybody has
The right turn.
correct. They have to wait for the whole split. So they're going to lose the whole cycle. They have to wait for the next. So it could help the pedestrian safety, but it's not going to help traffic, especially on days when the westbound right turn traffic is very heavy and there's also pedestrian activity. It will cause some backups. So it's something to consider also.
Going back to my original question, going east, I can see 4 marks, okay? And coming from the south, I can see like 7 marks. So that 24-car scenario, turning it into that eastbound lane, it doesn't fit, is what I'm saying. And
Correct, they will have to merge.
right, and what I'm saying is, if you do the mayor's scenario by moving the march back, I don't know if that's, I'll try anything, but does that now accelerate those people even more? You know what I'm saying? Because if you're giving them more of an area to accelerate.
No, my thoughts were not that. My thoughts were more of they were going to be able to focus their attention more on merging and less on maneuvering that turn.
Because this all comes down to human nature. I'm sitting in traffic, I'm upset, I want to go home. If I see an opening, I'm going to gun the car. I got this big machine under me, and they're trying to get over the bridge. I mean, and that's just human nature. And
Correct.
I represent the people of Bel Air Beach. I really don't care if the people get backed up all the way to Sand Key. Because we have these Waze apps, we have this Google map. If they see a large traffic jam, maybe they won't come here.
Well, excuse me, but if you are saying you're representing all of Bel Air Beach, you just completely forgot about everybody on the north side of Causeway.
No, I mentioned that earlier. I said that our residents have more or less adapted that they cannot get out certain times of the day. I made that crystal clear. So
What do you do if you need something? Are you supposed to just stay home?
no, but what I'm saying is if we're making it easier for people to get here, it's just going to cause more traffic.
I think the purpose was to give them an easier way out, not in. Going that way across Gold or across Causeway is to allow people out. Because if you look, you've got 2 lanes turning south,
I understand you.
you've got 2 lanes turning east.
What I'm saying is the 2 lanes turning east is compressed from the 2 lanes turning south. You can only fit so much into that eastbound lane.
I'm Jeff Thompson, I'm the traffic engineer. I wanted to speak to your question about going eastbound. When you're going from 2 lanes to 1 lane, there's a formula, and it's based on the width of the travel lane and the speed limit, not so much the capacity. So where the 2 lanes go to 1 lane, you have over 300 feet between when there's 2 full lanes to where there's 1 lane, and you have that much. What's required by the formula is about 250 feet. So you have roughly 80 more feet than what's required to go from 2 lanes to 1 lane. So where the merge, like Nick was saying, where the merge here, the first one, as you come around from south to east, that's a little too early. I don't know if people, when they see that, they feel like they have to turn right there. I haven't seen that when I watched the camera, but that could be, I think, a good recommendation to take that out, but then add another one pretty much east and west of the first driveway there, which is Palm Drive. But that's what this drawing, let's see if I can get this to. Where is it? Oh. So I'll just go through some of these other ones. Your point about flattening this dotted white line is well taken. And we were going to also add a yellow dotted line to try to help guide the motorists on the inside left turn lane around this bend so they don't go into this lane. But we would flatten that out too. I think that's a good point. So we were going to add the yellow dotted guided line, refresh the white dotted line guideline, which again, you made a good point about making that flatter. Refreshing the white skips here, going eastbound, eliminating this merge here, but keeping this one and then adding another one right here. Refreshing the bike lane and the white edge line, just while we're out there, making sure those are visible. Moving this drop lane sign, it's further west than it needs to be, kind of right in line with where this merge, it should be really here at the second one, so people aren't prematurely trying to merge. The lane assignment sign up here going south, it's there, but there's a way we can maybe make it a little more conspicuous, maybe put a retro-reflective material on the signpost, just to make it stand out a little bit. There's other ways we can make it more conspicuous. And then last but not least, what you had spoke to earlier, moving this stop bar back.
Thank you. Mr. Roberts, do you have any questions? Any comments? We're going to give them just a second, and then I'm going to go to Councilmember Shaw Elliott and let her weigh in.
Right, now I'm unmuted, can you hear me?
Are you worth all this trouble?
I don't know, in between there, I took some, line dancing for the wobble wobble, so when I get back, I can show you how to do that.
All right, do you have any questions or comments?
I do. So, kind of in summary, just from my viewpoint, obviously years ago, we had a single left-hand turn lane with the median on 13th and 4th Street, 13th and 14th Street. Then we went to a double left-hand turn lane coming off of, and making a left-hand turn on the Causeway Boulevard, which we have now. The one scenario we have actually not had physically is the single left-hand turn lane on the Causeway Boulevard without the median. Now, I know you had questions earlier, Mr. Mayor, concerning people coming off 13th and 14th Street. And the county has a lot of data, which I haven't had a chance to really see regarding how many vehicles they think would typically queue up into that single lane. It sounded like earlier, one of the gentlemen said, you know, he didn't really think it would even go past 13th Street in particular. There may be some times when that happens. Right now, I'm guessing they're still challenged. If they're coming out of 13th or 12th or 13th Street and they want to make a left-hand turn out of their street to head south, and maybe either goes further south or take the left to get on Causeway, they still have a little bit of a challenge with that now, even though it does provide them some safety because of the median. But personally, I would want to get some more data and information and recommendations from the county. Well, if we go to that single lane, which they did have some information on that, and the vehicles would queue up into that single lane with the ability to at sometimes make a left-hand turn with a blinking yellow light, I don't feel like there's going to be a lot of times when those cars queue up. So the people that live on 12th and 13th would have difficulty coming out of their street and attempting to make a left-hand turn. So I, for one, would like to see that happen. The county had told me before, if we did that, and for some particular reason, later on we felt, well, you know what, maybe this didn't work as well as we wanted to, it's not that difficult for them to go ahead and put back the curbing to create that median like it was before. Again, all pointing to the safety of the two cars trying to make a left-hand turn, which I don't feel comfortable with.
Thank you, Mr. Roberts. Let's go to Councilmember Shaw Elliott.
Well, I want to thank both the mayor and the county for all of their efforts, because I think the presentation is a viable solution. I like the fact that it is preserving both double lanes for the southbound left-hand turns onto the Causeway. I think that's important to preserve. I think it's also important to preserve the double left-hand turn lanes westbound and going south. It looks as though this solution to push back the crosswalks eliminates the danger of basically colliding vehicles as they're turning to go eastbound, as well as hitting the people that are sitting there waiting to go southbound. Because I've been in that situation where I feel like to turn south and go south and walk, I'm in the line of fire. So I think all of that works. That sounds really good. I am concerned about pedestrian traffic, so I'm open to any kind of observations that how we can better preserve pedestrian safety, in that as we push the Causeway sidewalk back further east, which again is a great move for traffic movement, you then increase the risk that drivers going northbound and turning east will not see anyone in the pedestrian crosswalk. So it's a blind curve for them to see anybody in that crosswalk. So whatever we could do to improve that safety measure would be great. And lastly, I would not favor eliminating the island. And under your proposal, that wouldn't be necessary, but the island is important, I think, for several reasons. One is aesthetically, it's just nice to have it and have some palm trees and some greenery. But more importantly, it's also a safety zone for pedestrians. So as you cross Gulf, there's a place where you can wait and be safe on that island. And I think that's important also. So if you could address how to make it more prominent that someone in the sidewalk for those northbound east turns, what would we do with that? That would be great.
Thank you, Councilmember Shaw Elliott. I'd like to hear from the city manager. City Manager Reefer, what are your thoughts?
My thoughts are to follow the county's recommendation. I think that they have all the technology to plug all of the scenarios into their models, and they do this every day. So if we have some other models we'd like to experiment with just to get the data on them, I think that's the best course of action.
Thank you. Mr. Roberts, you have conversed more than anyone. Would you like to have some final words before we let these gentlemen go home?
Sure, thank you. Just very quickly, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just so everybody knows, we do have already 2 different pedestrian crossings in our city that do not have a median. So I know some people think that all of them do, 2 of them do not. And there are some, I know in Indian Rocks Beach, they've been removing them. So I don't think from an aesthetic standpoint, that really carries a lot of weight. And I just want to go on the record, because I feel very strongly about this, about not continuing to not have the 2 left-hand turn lanes. So I want to make sure that everyone understands I am 100% against that. And I pray to God nothing ever happens, but it does. I want people to know that I was not for that when that accident occurred. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Roberts.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
just for clarifications, Mr. Thompson, did you say how many feet was it that you had to get into the?
About
You know what I'm saying, when you're going east, how many feet did you have before you had to merge?
If you're going from 2 lanes to 1 lane
Yes,
with 35 miles per hour and a 12-foot lane, going from 2 lanes to 1 lane, be about 250 feet.
About 250 feet?
Yeah,
And we have 2 lanes coming in from the south that hold 12 cars each from the north.
Roughly, it depends on the size. It might be a bigger vehicle, it might be a truck, so
Well,
approximately.
my software in my head, an average car is 14.8 feet, okay? So let's say 15 feet times 12, 180 feet. You put 2 feet between each car. I'm not a mathematician, but I pick up dog poop for the county, all right? You can only put so much poop in one bag, all right? And this is the problem. You're trying to merge all these cars, and there's not enough room. It's a simple solution, right? I don't know why we're making it so complicated. Thank you.
And what is your simple solution?
I think we should go back to where it was. I agree with Mr. Roberts. If someone gets hit there, I'm not going to be responsible either.
All right.
And Ms. Elliott, you made a good point, because when you are making that crosswalk, if you move it back, remember that it was people put that big wall there. So now you got even more restriction. People aren't looking, they see that wall.
Thank you very much. All right, gentlemen, we look forward to hearing your, if you change your opinion or whatever it is that you're planning on doing, we would like to know what it is before it actually happens, just to give us the opportunity to talk about it and present it to the community at worst case, all right?
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate the time tonight. I know this took a little bit longer than we anticipated, but just like we've been doing, we'll coordinate through Kyle, and as we revise our drawings, we'll get it to him, and we'll wait to hear from you guys before we take action.
We appreciate you being here and addressing this long overdue conversation. Thank you. Gentlemen, have a good night. All right, now we are up to item 6, finally, the quarterly board reports, starting with the Board of Adjustments. Mr. Kelly, I'll give you a couple of minutes to clear out before you guys are fighting over that.
Yes, it's great. Let me turn it on. There you go.
Welcome.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, council members. My name is Mike Kelly. I'm the Board of Adjustment Chairman. I'm here to report to you about the activity we've had in the last quarter. Not only is it the last quarter, but the hearing that we had 2 weeks ago is the only one for 2024. Last year we were overloaded with a bunch of pools and a bunch of docks. This year it's been kind of quiet. And the case that we had that was heard on June 13th was a front setback as opposed to a dock or a pool. Other than that, we were sad to lose one member of the board who resigned. Mark Beaton has resigned from Board of Adjustment. But it's on your agenda, as you know, upcoming soon, for the candidate for the potential appointment as a new board member to fill our board for 7. This board has 2 auxiliary members. Right now, we only have one, since one of them had moved up to a full spot. And the second gentleman has chosen not to go for that particular full-time appointment as he travels too much. He's not here enough. So I hope you see fit to appoint the gentleman that's on your agenda later for a full-time position on our board. There is another hearing coming up August 1st for a situation on Donato Drive that involves a beach in one of those coves that I think there'll be a lot of activity and a lot of residents involved. So we look forward to that.
Thank you, Mr. Kelly. Do we have any questions or comments from the council? Mr. Roberts, do you have any questions?
I have none, thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Kelly.
Thank you.
Appreciate you being here. All right. Do we have anyone from the Citizens Advisory Committee? All right.
I don't have a report, though.
No report. All right.
Wasn't aware of it.
That's quite all right. That's quite all right. Okay, since we have no report from the Citizens Advisory Committee, let's move on to Parks and Rec. Anyone here from Parks and Rec tonight?
That'd be me.
Okay, who do we have?
Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, I'm Patty Roberts from 102 20th Street, Chair of Parks and Rec. So last time we were together, gave a report about we were looking for muralists to do a mural on the Morgan Park rec room walls. So we have obtained a muralist, John Comer, and he's presented sketches, and it's $1,500 per wall. It includes the prep work, the paint, and the sealant. And he's ready to begin work at the end of July. There should be sketches in your packet, and it shows for the Gump Boulevard wall, there's a turtle that says, "Welcome to Bel Air Beach." And then there's the bathroom walls, which is facing south. There's palm trees. And for the oceanside wall, it's dolphins. Can you see all those?
Yes, we can.
Okay. At this time, we have 2,500 remaining in our budget. And I understand that that may be adjusted for the full cost of all 3 walls being completed at one time. Are there any questions?
I have a question. Was this ever going in front of the council to vote on?
According to what I was told, it didn't need to be voted. And last meeting, when I told you about it, you said you just wanted to see the sketches before we moved on. That's my understanding.
So where we're at right now, they have $2,500 that was allocated for the promotional events that they haven't spent. So we didn't know exactly what this total price was going to come to. So there is money that they typically use for their budget available. But if you're looking at $1,500 per wall, you're going to need a little more. There is some, just talking about repairs for the non-departmental budget, we've come under this year, so there is some money to work with inside of that budget, but it would be the council's decision to move forward. So we can put it on as an agenda item if you'd like to officially vote.
I'd like to hear each council member's opinion on this project. Yes, Ms. Elliott.
Thank you, Patty. This is Kim Shaw Elliott. I love the idea of the turtle. I think it supports the work that a lot of people are doing in terms of saving the turtle nests in our community, and so that's a great theme to put out there. General comment on the dolphins, again, love them, it's great, like the sea life on the side. Just from this particular image, can't really quite tell if the right side of the panel is empty or what's going to happen there. Maybe a little blank on that. On the palm trees, not a big fan of those just because they look rather commercial. It just looks like something that might come out of a pre-done purchase that you could make for that kind of image. But thank you very much for this effort because I think it will be a great addition to have in your homes.
Thank you.
Mr. Roberts, you're sitting there with Patty right now. I'd like to hear you weigh in on this also.
Thank you very much. I kind of feel that risk since I'm on a vote, so I am definitely in favor of it. Yeah, I think I know they've had a lot of conversations with the muralist, different ideas. He seems to have some really good references, some buildings we've seen around locally here. He does great work, and as Councilmember Elliott said, I think it would enhance the appearance of Morgan Park significantly. So I'm in favor.
Thank you, Mr. Roberts. Let's go to Mr. Banker.
Kyle, how much money do we bring in on, I should know this, Morgan Park unfortunately. For the total year, we budgeted in our revenues about $150,000. That's average.
Make a motion to give $2,000 to this project. I mean, give them something back, Dave.
I'm just asking questions. My only concern is it's not necessarily about money. I'm trying to decide what is the goal of this other than beautifying. Are we calling people from Gulf Boulevard to come to Morgan Park and spend their money on our beach? I'm just trying to grasp what it is we're trying to accomplish. I love the idea of beautifying anything in Bel Air Beach, but I'm not sure if we're saying calling all tourists to our private community. So, Patty, what's your thoughts on that?
Well, you hit it with the beautification. That's where we came up with the idea. I knew they had just completed the cleanup of Morgan Park, and we were trying to think of other things that we could do. And that was the idea that we came up with. And the welcome to Bel Air Beach is anybody that pulls in there, and they don't have to live in Bel Air Beach to park there. But I don't feel like we're saying, come on in. We're just saying, this is our beach, and we think it's beautiful. And the turtle idea was, because we're trying to protect the turtles here on our beach, that's why we chose the picture of the turtle.
What is
It's all about beautification.
what is the lifespan of the mural before it needs maintenance?
He said 25 to 30 years.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
There's no welcome.
Well, it says Bel Air Beach, and there's a turtle. He's saying welcome. Okay. Well, I really think that we should take a vote on it anyway, just so that we go on record. I'm just going to be upfront about it. I like the idea of painting on 3 sides of the building. I don't like the idea of that side. But can we go on record, or is that good enough? I think everyone else is in favor of it.
Well, I agree with Kim on that palm tree, it doesn't look a little bit commercial.
Well, we could change that, but, we got 3 ideas from him, and we wanted it to be simple, but still very much in nature. So, if you have an idea for the bathroom wall side, or we can just do the 2 sides.
Everybody loves a manatee.
Now, we debated on the dolphin, manatee, and stingray. So we could add one of the other, the manatee or the stingray.
I like the manatee.
I'm having a problem with the Gulf Boulevard side of painting the Gulf Boulevard side, just because I don't want to attract more people to Morgan Park. I think that we do well as it is, and that's just where I stand.
I make the motion, we don't do what, well, good.
Oh, that was the main one, so that people did see it.
I have to agree with the mayor on, this, we try to keep this as private as possible. I mean, the 3-hour time limit, the parking and everything like that, so.
We have a motion on the table. Do I have a second?
What was the motion again? I'm sorry.
Not to do golf ball.
What if we just did the picture but not put Bel Air Beach?
I think it's still, I'm sorry, we have a motion on the table right now. We have to decide if we have a second or not. Okay, the motion dies. All right. Well, if that's the case, it sounds like you guys can do whatever you'd like with this mural.
Okay, thank you. And we will, and continuing with my report, in October we will be having the chili cook-off, and it's going to be football themed, and it is scheduled for a weekend when the Bucks are playing out of town, so we don't interfere with people that want to go to that game. So everybody needs to sharpen up their recipes for chili and sign up to participate, or either just come and eat. I believe our weekend we chosen was October 13th.
That sounds good. I happen to know somebody that makes good chili.
I know, so you better sign up again. Thank you.
Wait, one comment, Patty? Patty, do you have an update, a comment regarding porch sitting, an announcement about that?
Oh, yes, thank you. We also have a new activity that Ms. Shaw Elliott presented called porch sitting. And it is going to be once a month. And I don't have my notes in front of me since we're on this cruise. I believe it's July 29th is the first one. It begins at 7 o'clock. It will be on the back porch of the City Hall. And just come and visit with your neighbors. You bring your own activities if you want. We will have some cornhole set up and maybe a couple of other things, long games. But it's just a getting to know your neighbors. Similar to our picking up litter on the beach, but there's no work involved, only fun. So that's July 29th at 7 p.m., the backside of City Hall.
Thank you, Ms. Roberts. I appreciate it. Do we have any other questions or comments from Mrs. Roberts?
Patty, I was told there's no beach cleanup this week because of the 4th of July, and there were some people on the June, I was there in June, but there was nobody there for the June beach cleanup. Is it going to be back to August now, or what is?
Yes, the June one was up at City Hall instead. That was posted on the sign that they met up at City Hall for the cleanup behind City Hall, that beach.
Okay, there was about 6 or 8 of us that showed up in
19, yeah, that it was changed, and that was in the, what do you call it, online letter and on the sign. But yes, we canceled because of 4th of July, and no one was in town.
All right. Thank you, Patty. I appreciate it. All right, now we are up to, we are up to now we're up to planning and zoning. Do we have anyone from planning and zoning?
No, the chair is out of town, but he did provide a written report that was included in the packet.
All right. Well, that concludes our reports, and now we are on to number 7. Apparently, Mr. Moore billed us so much that he didn't want to be here, so he sent in one of his partners to take the heat.
Randy gets to go on exotic vacations, and here I sit. I don't have anything to report other than that. I appreciate your.
All right, Mr. Danio, I guess you're off the hook today. I appreciate you being here this evening. And now we're up to number 8, City Manager Report. Mr. Riefler, you're up.
Thank you, Mayor. Run down the list, Gulf Boulevard Undergrounding Project. Phase 1, we're ready for Duke to get started on that. There's nothing really in their way, so it's completely on their schedule. For Phase 2, we have all the conduit in for the communication line, which is Spectrum. We had an update to Spectrum as far as when they're going to pull their cables. We're still expecting that within the next couple of months to be done within this fiscal year. We're sitting right now sort of at a standstill with the easement requests. The consultants and project manager undergrounding utilities undergrounding in Florida, they are diligently trying to get the easement requests from residents. Residents do not want to give easements for where Duke is recommending that the equipment goes. So we've asked Duke in our last meeting for an alternative option. If they stand by that we need these easements, then I've asked them to come to one of our meetings to explain this and bring some of those residents in as well, because I think that's the only way we're going to get to the discussion moving forward. The stormwater improvement project, last Friday, the engineer, Larry Flutie, and I met with the contractor. We are in agreement of what they want as far as getting those curbs in so that they can get them in the proper way the first time they install them. So they've asked for that we do give them the grades every 10 feet so they can have a surveyor out there stake the grades. And then that way they'll have precise measurements up and down each street, because it is a very difficult terrain to install the curb. So the engineer's doing all the work on the front end for them to go out there and resume the project. Our goal right now is we've approved for the paving to get done on Morgan Drive, 25th, 24th, and Cedar Spruce and Palm Drive. Those are all they've all been approved by the engineer so that we can have the paving completed and the grass and pavers restored. So those residents are happy. It's been a long time for them to wait. And then the first set of detailed grading plans we're going to get out are going to be 14th, 15th, and 16th. I plan on meeting with the engineer and the contractor again to make sure that they have everything that they need, and then we can get out there and resume the curb work. Right now, in the meantime, I've asked them to fill, because they filled in front of the driveways with the road base while we've been on standstill, but I've asked them to fill the rest of the trenching just because we've been getting a lot of rain. And I've noticed that we're kind of getting some water sitting in, but get ahead of it before we start getting some complaints on that. The code review, I've met for about 3 hours with Mr. Cerno. We went through all the recommendations. He has everything he needs right now to start drafting the ordinances to then go to Attorney Mora for his review. But I plan on bringing workable ordinances for council discussion in August so that we can be ahead of the game for first reading after the time period elapses for the Hurricane Ian. And then lastly, our RFP auditing services, we met as an audit committee, and there's a recommendation that is an agenda item, so we'll wait till later for that.
All right, thank you. Do we have any questions or comments for the city manager?
I have a comment.
Yes.
Regarding the stormwater improvement projects, I wanted to point out that our plans have consistently said that 9th Street would have been handled last September. Waiting a long time for that initiative to begin. We appreciate the fact that we had considered and are still working on looking at the pump to augment thank you, the valve. But work was redirected north, and I thought we were going to try to redirect it back to 9th Street once that work had been completed. So I asked that we consider not going to 14th, 15th, and 16th, going back to the original plan.
Thank you, Ms. Elliott. Any other questions or comments? Mr. Riefler, would you like to address our concerns?
Right now I'd hesitate to go from 14th and 15th just because they already have been broken, the curb's been cut out, and they have gaps on the edge of their street. So I think they're surprisingly being very patient where we're at right now while we get this figured out. So I don't feel like it would be proper to delay them from getting their curb in at this point.
And that, it was delayed because of the plan for the pumps, is that correct?
No, this was delayed from the confusion on how we want the valley curb installed. The contractor was out there with one method which worked for the first 6 streets. We got to a point when we got to that 23rd.
No, I'm referring to 9th Street.
9th. Oh, so the 9th Street was delayed originally because, yes, the pump station, but I do know right now we have an idea of, we were working on requesting the easement from the property owner. I had no luck with getting back. We had a meeting with them, but I haven't heard anything back from that property owner. So at this point, I want to direct Larry Flutie to design it to go through the road. But where we stand as a project as a whole, we've run into some problems with the design of the curb and what the contractor wants to install it properly. So that has kind of caused more delay than we expected. I do know that 9th Street is a very challenging street, being extremely flat. So I know
just from discussions with Larry Flutie, there's some decisions that might need to be made to start the curb replacement on that street. So yes, if the contractor's in agreement, after we finish 14th, 15th, and 16th, I could recommend that we go to 9th Street, but again, that's not completely in our control.
All right, thank you. Any other questions or comments for the city manager?
Just a clarification, 9th Street wasn't skipped because of the pump issue. It had already been skipped, and for some whatever reason, I don't understand, it went from 8th Street north after that, and 9th Street was on the schedule. The pump issue came up later, but thank you for the reminder, Mr. Manager, that, yes, those streets were already open. I don't know how they got up there in the first place before coming back to 9th Street, which is a disappointment. But now that they're open, yeah, I think we need to take care of that, or whatever influence that we could have to turn that project to the street repairs on like that would be appreciated.
Thank you, Ms. Elliott.
Just a comment. I think 9th Street would be the prototype for the whole city when it's done. I mean, if we were going to proceed the way the original plan was, you go with First or 8th Street, it's a disaster. I mean, so hopefully your street will be the prototype before, you might have to wait a little bit longer.
No, I appreciate it.
Yeah, I think you're looking at.
We're all getting, the learning is continuing and the product is improving.
Mr. Roberts, would you like to address the city manager?
No, sir, all good.
All right, I think that's it, and we'll move on to the city clerk's report. Very good. All right. Hello, Ms. Rose.
I provided a written report, and I have nothing else to add this evening.
You've all seen the report. Do you have any questions for the city clerk? Mr. Roberts?
No, sir.
All right. Now we are on to the consent agenda, items 10, 11, and 12. This is for approval of the June 3rd, 2024 City Council meeting minutes, the June 17th, 2024 special City Council meeting minutes, and the June 17th, 2024 City Council budget workshop minutes. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve as written and proposed.
Motion is made by Councilmember Banker. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Shaw Elliott. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? I don't think there are. All right. The consent agenda passes. Now we are on to the regular agenda, item number 13. This is for consideration of the appointment of Mr. Anders Wellings to the Board of Adjustments. Is Mr. Wellings here tonight? And if so, would you like to speak, sir?
Sure.
Yeah, my name is Anders Wellings. I'm at 709 Harbor Drive. Yeah, I think last time I was applying to help out on the city commission, city board, and but I also said I wanted to help anywhere I could. So the Board of Adjustments, I know a couple people on that. I thought it'd be fun to help out there, and I think I could really bring some value. So yeah, I'd like to be considered for that role.
Thank you, Mr. Wellings. While you're standing here, would any council member like to ask him a question? Mr. Roberts?
No, sir. I think he's very qualified and would love to see him on that board.
And I'm glad to see you here and coming back. Very good. Let's go to the citizens for comments, and thank you, sir.
Okay.
You can stand down now. Would any citizen like to comment on nomination for Mr. Wellings on the Board of Adjustments?
Mike Kelly, Hibiscus Drive. Again, I want to just reinforce the fact that a gentleman who wants to get involved with the city and to show a lot of passion to do it is hitting us at the right time because we have a full-time opening in that board. He's here all the time, and it'd be a great addition to our board with this experience. And we look forward to having him if you so choose.
Thank you, Mr. Kelly. Any other citizens like to address the council on this topic? All right, citizen comments are now closed. Council, I'm going to need a motion to appoint Mr. Wellings to the Board of Adjustments.
Motion to appoint.
I'm going to give that one to the hand raiser here. So that goes to Kim Shaw Elliott. Do I have a second? And I believe that was Mr. Banker. Ms. Elliott, you have the floor.
Just to echo the comments that have already been made, Mr. Wells has indicated a lot of interest in serving our community. He's highly qualified and great position.
Would anyone else on the council like to comment on this topic? No? Mr. Roberts?
No, sir.
All right. Well, in that case, Renee, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Bankard.
Yes.
Councilmember Roberts.
Aye.
Councilmember Elliott.
Aye.
And Mayor Gaddis.
Yes. So congratulations. You're in unanimously, and thank you for serving our city. I look forward to seeing you get to work. All right, now we are on to item number 14. This is for the City Council selection of a professional audit services firm and to authorize the city manager to execute an auditing services agreement with the selected firm. The audit committee's recommendation for city auditor is Wells, Hauser, and Schatzel, EA, for the amount of $32,200. Mr. Reefer, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. Just as a recap, we issued the RFP on April 19th, and we received 5 proposals on May 31st. Of those 5, 4 of them were within our budget range, and the audit committee had met and discussed their rankings, which I provided for as one of the attachments of score sheets, and in doing so, they made a recommendation to have the firm Wells, Hauser, and Schatzel, PA, as the awarded auditing firm. And I've included Wells, Hauser, and Schatzel's proposal for your review.
Thank you, Mr. Reefler. Let's go to the citizens for comments on this topic. Would anyone like to address the council? Seeing as we have none, citizen comments are now closed. Council, I'm going to need a motion to, I'm sorry, wrong area here, sorry. I'm going to need a motion to select an auditing service and to authorize the city manager to execute the auditing services agreement with the selected firm.
I make that motion.
Second. What exactly did I say? All right, so.
I can specify.
It's quite all right. I'm just giving you a hard time.
That's all right.
All right, and the second was made by Mr. Baker. Ms. Elliott, you have the floor.
Thank you. The selection committee is the standing committee for the, which committee?
So it's a Citizens Advisory Committee.
Please forget the name, I apologize for that. The Citizens Advisory Committee is composed of a lot of very highly qualified people that did some very good work in doing this evaluation. So they sit as the audit committee, and our ordinance provides that the chair of the audit committee be a council member. So I served in that capacity. Each of the responses to the RFP were evaluated in full. It was a very good process. Each member of the committee made an evaluation of those responses based on the criteria that were presented in the original RFP. Those criteria are weighted, and each one was tabulated for individual. We talked through all of the issues, and the ratings were compiled, and the highest rated firm ended up being Wells Hauser. We talked a lot about all of the candidates' qualifications, but we determined that here, when we're selecting an auditor, the individual qualifications aren't as important in the sense that all of them are going to have to be licensed CPAs, all of them are going to have to be able to follow the process, all of them are going to be able to follow the accounting procedures. So we looked at some qualitative measures also, qualitative qualitative measures also. This is a smaller firm, which we like. Our existing auditor is from a much larger firm, and we felt like we weren't getting the attention that we really wanted from our auditor. We feel like we can get the attention of the key decision makers and the key providers in this effort when it is a smaller firm, because they're going to be the partners and not a department head or a manager from a big firm's department. We felt that this particular firm also represents many of our neighboring peer companies, peer communities, and they include Seminole, Oldsmar, South Pasadena, Bel Air Bluffs, and Reddington Shores. So they have a lot of experience in our space and the communities of our size. One thing that was very distinguishing about this firm is that they specified that the work would be done on site. Many of the applicants do this remotely, and that can be very effective. There's nothing wrong with doing things remotely, but being on site might provide some additional insights, as well as the fact that this particular firm, our CFO, used to work at, so that we're guaranteed this is going to be, not guaranteed, but we're confident that this is going to be a very good, workable relationship. Their fee for service was pegged at $32,200. That was not the cheapest of the responses, but it was all of them were within a fairly narrow range and was certainly within our projected budget of $35,000. So definitely support this candidate.
Thank you, Councilmember Shaw. Elliott, do we have other comments from the council? Mr. Roberts?
No, sir.
All right. I like the study that was done. I think it was very thorough. I read through the notes, and it seemed pretty obvious that you guys did a great job. And I'm just curious, is there anyone here from the firm this evening that would like to address the council? Yes, sir. Please come up and let's have your name and tell us a little bit about you and your firm.
Yes. Excuse me. Thank you very much. Thank you for the opportunity for our firm to have been able to submit our proposal. I'm Peter Schatzel from Wellshausen Schatzel. Our firm and myself, we have been auditing local governments over quite a long period of time. In addition to our current client base, we had indicated in our proposal, we at one time, for a period of 10 years, we had audited the city of Tarpon Springs. For a period of 12 years, we audited the city of Newport Richey. So I do think that we do bring, from a standpoint of a smaller municipality, I think we do bring a good base of knowledge. As was brought out, and I've always felt this way as long as I've been practicing CPA and auditor, that doing an audit on site, I think, is very important. I've used the phrase that if you're not here on site, it's almost like you're trying to work in a vacuum. And as an auditor, and being present in the client's offices, you get to basically get a sense of the tone at the top, and you get a better opportunity to know the people, and I think it just gives us a better opportunity to be able to serve you, and if there's areas where we feel that we can make recommendations. I think as auditors we're a lot more apt to be able to find those areas by having a physical presence. I don't really have too much else to add to that. I think you'll find that I think we do a very thorough job. I've been accused of probably over auditing. But I think if you're auditing a local municipality and you're looking at how other people's monies are being spent, I think it's important. And so we had our approach to looking at, looking at monies being dispersed, we take a broad sample. And, so I guess I would conclude that, again, I definitely I do thank the City Council for the opportunity, for giving us the opportunity to be able to serve as your auditors.
Thank you, Mr. Schatzel, and I agree with you that the on-site audit is definitely the more streamlined, more efficient way of doing things, because you get caught up in this email back and forth constantly, and we all know it's very time-consuming. Sometimes it's one request at a time, and it can multiply the amount of time it takes to get the job done. Whereas if you're in our building, that's much more efficient. So I greatly appreciate that, and I definitely understand the attraction. Thank you very much for being here tonight. Do we have any questions or comments for Mr. Schatzel? Mr. Roberts?
No, sir.
All right. Thank you, sir. And I guess now we will take it to a vote. Renee?
Councilmember Bankard,
Yes.
Councilmember Roberts,
Yes.
Councilmember Elliott,
Yes.
and Mayor Gaddis.
Yes, so it's unanimous. Congratulations, Mr. Schatzel, to you and your firm, and we look forward to working with you. All right, now we are on to item number 15. This is consideration of Resolution 2024-01. This is normally where I make Randy read the resolution. Are you prepared to do so, sir?
I am. I didn't know Randy could read. Resolution 2024-01, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Bel Air Beach, Florida, authorizing signatures which are to appear for all city check and draft writing, and instructing any financial institution to accept any certified copy of this resolution as evidence of legal authority over city financial accounts, resolving conflicts herewith and establishing an effective date.
Okay, so the next question is, can you summarize that for us?
I just did. The resolution provides who shall have the authority to execute financial instruments, including checks on behalf.
There we go. All right. Mr. Reefler, do you have any comments on this?
Just that since we had some council member change out and a new city clerk, it's been due to get it done.
Okay, all right. Let's go to the citizens for comments. Since we have none, would you like to speak, sir? Okay, all right. Since we have none now, I'm going to close citizen comments. And council, I'm going to need a motion to approve resolution 2024-01.
Motion to approve.
Motion is made by Councilmember Baker. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second.
All right, I'm going to give this one to Mr. Roberts. I'm going to act like he's on a time delay. Mr. Baker, you have the floor.
I think the way it's written, proposed, speaks for itself. I believe we should take it to a vote.
I agree. All right, Renee, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Bankard,
Yes.
Councilmember Roberts,
Yes.
Councilmember Elliott,
Yes.
and Mayor Gaddis.
Yes, so resolution 2024-01 passes unanimously. We will sign, we'll give you all our autographs after this meeting, so don't anyone leave. And Mr. Roberts, whenever you come back, you have to sign too.
Yes, sir.
All right, now we are on to item number 16. This is, I can't believe this is the first or the second resolution of the year. I can't believe we've gone this far. And it's almost, well, it is July. Consideration of resolution 2024-02, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Bel Air Beach, Florida, approving the fiscal year 2023-24 non-ad valorem assessment roll for the Bellevue Estates Island Assessment Area, directing certification. I read it for you. I did his job, didn't I? Can I have a refund?
Well, you're going to need one. I think we were talking about the 2024-2025 non-ad valorem assessment.
You are correct, sir. If you look at that. Okay, so there was a typo there. Would you like to read the resolution correctly?
I would be pleased and honored to do that. Resolution 2024-02, a resolution of the City Council of Bel Air Beach, Florida, approving the fiscal year 2024-25 non-ad valorem assessment rule for the Bellevue Estates Island Assessment Area, directing certification of the assessment rule to the Pinellas County Tax Collector, and providing for an effective date.
And why, sir, are we doing this?
You are doing this in compliance with the 6th Judicial Circuit final judgment rendered in May of 2018 for the Bellevue Estates Island Assessment Area. We filed with the city clerk and to make sure that you are collecting the taxes due under that assessment.
Thank you, Mr. Danio. Mr. Riefler, do you have any comments?
No, sir.
All right, let's go to the citizens for comments. Anyone would like to speak on this topic? We're not going to talk about taxes then. Okay, citizen comments are closed. Council, I'm going to need a motion to approve resolution 2024-02.
So moved.
Motion made by Kim Shaw Elliott. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second is made by Councilmember Roberts. Councilmember Shaw Elliott, you have the floor.
Seems pretty perfunctory, so you make the assessment, get the money in.
Thank you, Ms. Elliott. Do we have any other comments? We have none. Renee, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Bankert,
Yes.
Councilmember Roberts,
Yes.
Councilmember Elliott,
Yes.
and Mayor Gaddis.
Yes, so resolution 2024-02 passes unanimously. Now we move on to item number 17, which is unfinished business. Do we have any unfinished business? Mr. Roberts?
No, sir.
All right, let's move on to item number 18, which is council comments. I'm going to begin tonight with Councilmember Shaw Elliott.
I don't have any news items to report, but I do wish everybody a very happy 4th of July and in full recognition of the liberties that we have here and our hopefully continued fair administration of justice.
Thank you, Ms. Elliott. Next up is Councilmember Baker.
I also want to wish everyone a blessed 4th of July and thankful for all the guys that served and women that served in this country, gave us this liberty and freedom. I also want to note last week's Supreme Court decision, Johnson versus Grant, regarding camping or homelessness taking over public space. The Supreme Court ruled that it's okay for towns to create ordinances regarding camping. I didn't even know we didn't have an ordinance for camping like a lot of our other cities did. I was approached by a deputy of our town telling me that this really started late fall into the spring. Guys are sleeping out on this bench here and other benches, and our deputies have very limited ability to go up and ask them if they are residents without the Supreme Court ruling. So I really think maybe we ought to look into putting an ordinance in camping here, because it's just not the guy sleeping on the bench, it's the rude comments he's making. Somebody looking at the rule in the at 6 o'clock.
Thank you, Mr. Baker. Something definitely to bring up in the next work session. Maybe Rain can come up.
I'll mention it too, and the advice you were getting previously is correct. You know, there have been a lot of, in multiple jurisdictions in Pinellas County throughout the country about the contours of how to deal with the homelessness crisis and what our local government's permitted to do lawfully. But as Councilor Baker has noted, there's been a change.
I couldn't believe what the deputies were told by some of these people, and they have nothing, they can't bring it up. But this will help us.
Yeah, and the Florida courts have been quite hostile to attempts to quote outlaw homelessness like that. So this has shifted the landscape a little bit. I'll manage to bring this up. Thanks.
Thank you. All right, now we are up to Councilmember Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First of all, I'd like to thank Shaw Elliott did with the audit committee. I think if most of us remember, she had almost just been barely sworn in when we voted to have her represent our council. And she did it beautifully, and I just want to thank her for all the good work she did there. Also, the welcome. The Bel Air Beach Community Foundation did some work, I think last weekend, or maybe the previous one recently, for the Veterans Park. And I want to thank all the people that were out there making that happen. We had a great turnout from Home Depot. So they were very helpful, and they supplied a lot of the materials as well as labor. I know Kyle was out there with some of his staff, so thank you for everybody that helped with that. We always want to do everything we possibly can to support our veterans, so thank you. And again, like the other two council members just said, have a wonderful, fun 4th of July, and be safe.
Thank you, Mr. Roberts. I'd also like to thank you for being at the Community Foundation event. It's looking nice out there, and I can't wait to see the final outcome. I'd like to wish everyone a safe and happy 4th of July. However, please remember that fireworks are not allowed on the beach, nor are they allowed to be detonated over the beach. I know they're going to happen, but let's not be those people. Also, I'd like to ask everyone to be mindful of your neighbors, their pets, and their property as you celebrate our independence. Thanks for coming out tonight. Everyone have a great week. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Motion adjourned. Motion is made, as usual, by Frank Baker. And do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Kim Shaw Elliott. All in favor? Aye?
Bye.
Any opposed? All right, good night, everyone.